Welcome, everybody. Thursday Tea Time History Chat Live with me, Philippa. Welcome. I hope you've had a lovely week. Thank you if you are joining me live. I'm streaming on YouTube and on Instagram. And if you're watching on the catch-up, either on Instagram or YouTube, or you might be listening on the podcast, then welcome to you. And thank you for getting the catch-up. But to you who are joining me live, hi, I can see a few people coming in. With this time of the week again, where we have a little wander, a meander through some of the events which have happened in history, maybe some places I've been to, which I can talk to you about. And you can obviously ask me questions in the chat and on either Instagram or YouTube. I am doing my best to monitor both. And so, yeah, throw me some questions as well, either usefully about what I'm talking about, perhaps, but you can also throw in some others as well. Maybe you've seen something in the news or whatever you'd like me to talk about. On YouTube, hi, Janice, Lisa, Catherine, all right, Bird, and Coco, hello, welcome. And I can see Lisa Jenner's here, Morag. Sorry if you're here and I can't see your name now, but thank you for joining on Instagram as well. So, everyone, I hope you have had a great week. Oh, Lisa already has jumped in with, I've bought Tracy Borman's new book today. Can't wait to start it. Morning, Jenna. Fabulous. Yes, Crown and Scepter. I spoke about that last week. And if you haven't already, please do check out my interview with Tracy Borman. She spoke to me about the new book. Crown and Scepter takes us through the monarchs we've had since the time of William the Conqueror up to the present day, but she actually premises it as well with what was England like before the Norman conquest, how did we choose our kings, etc. before then. So she does include that in the book. But I spoke to her in my interview with her specifically about female rule and female power. Hi, Meg. Hi, Kat. I can see you there as well. And Orlando, welcome from Rio. And we spoke about, so female power, queens, regnant, regent, and, how women were actually able to influence power quite well in their, maybe not in the way that men could, but equally efficiently and powerfully as well. Hello, Anindita. Anindita is a member on my YouTube channel and she joins us from India. And I meant to say last night she joined us for History After Dark, and I did see your comment come up. It was something like 1:30 in the morning where you were. So thank you so much for joining us last night. I'll come back to talking about History After Dark shortly. There's quite a bit I wanted to talk about today. I want to tell you about Tutbury Castle, where I've been. Also, just a reminder about the competition I've got going to win a signed copy of one of Tracy Borman's books, her book, The Private Lives of the Tudors. Then there's some history anniversaries we've got. I mean, today is actually the anniversary of the opening of the trial of Charles I. So where England actually put on trial their own king for treason. Welcome, Michael. I can see you joining as well. Hi, Bill. Meg, I will quickly answer that. Meg on Instagram is asking, what time and day is History After Dark? I always seem to miss it. History After Dark is 8:15 on a Wednesday night. Sounds quite random time, but that's because Catherine does a Pilates class beforehand. So yes, History After Dark, 8:15 p.m. every Wednesday evening. So that's obviously London time. So please work out what time that is where you are. But we have a permanent home on Instagram. So we do it as a live show, and it's on the history.after.dark profile. So if you haven't already, please come along and follow history.after.dark, and then you can find us there. We do, if we're a little bit ahead of ourselves or organized, whichever way you want to say, put reminders out and let you know what we're going to be talking about. I will come back to History After Dark's episode last night because I'm well proud of me and the girls for what we did. Colleen, welcome. Good morning over there in California. Hi, Mel. I can see you joining as well. Hi, Gina. So I'll talk to you about Tutbury. We'll give you a reminder about Tracy's the competition to win Tracy's book. Also, we have the Just for Fun question, which I set you last week. I will give you the answer to that and give you this week's question as well. Like I say, we'll talk about some of the anniversaries or just things that have happened around about this time of year. So I've got the opening day of the trial of Charles I, which I thought we would mention. But also, it's one I missed last week, actually, but I want to talk about it. Maybe not in huge amounts of detail, but I think it's interesting. And it's an Act of Parliament, which was passed in 1404, which basically outlawed the practice of trying to create your own gold. So it was a sort of an anti-alchemy law. And I think it's really interesting to look at because when people invoke this is the law and you must follow the law, but let's look at some laws that have come in and are clearly for the people who brought them in. And I will talk about the Act of Multipliers as quite an interesting and fun way of demonstrating that. And then I will tell you about the live events that we've been up to and the ones that are coming up, and remind you where you can find me and my colleagues when we're talking about history. I think I do 5 live events a week, and I know my colleagues do more as well. So you've got Kat. I don't know if you're still with us, Kat. So Dr. Kat, who is the amazing channel Reading the Past on YouTube. Her and me and Catherine Brooks, who is not just the Tudor Tracker, we are the History After Dark team. So we are the girls that bring you history in a hi Kat, you're still here. We bring history to you in a spicy, in the words of Kat, way. It is not for young ears, it's not for the sensitive, but it is very funny. And we sometimes look into things that may just be a little bit over the mark, I don't know, a bit detailed in terms of something, but yeah, it's always quite an amusing look at history as well. So that's the History After Dark team. And of course, on a Friday, I do 2 shows with Sarah Morris, Dr. Sarah Morris, who is the Tudor travel guide, and we do a visiting Tudor Britain room. There's myself, Sarah, and Deb Boyle from Tudor Times. We are back tomorrow. Apologies to anyone who tried to find us last week. We were supposed to be going live last week. It's 4 o'clock every Friday. Visit Tudor Britain room on Instagram, but last minute sort of family emergencies and all sorts just derailed us. So we're back tomorrow, myself, Sarah, and Deb. We will be on Deb's profile, so that's Tudor.Times, and we are talking about the houses of Thomas Cromwell. Sarah will take the lead on that because she's written multiple blogs and has done quite a lot of research into the houses of Thomas Cromwell. So that will be tomorrow at 4 o'clock on Tudor.Times profile on Instagram. Janice is asking, how do you like on YouTube? So underneath the stream, I hope there's a thumbs up button, so you can if you're American, I've heard of other American YouTubers, I've said this before, and I smash the like button. Just click it, just tap on it. It's fine for me. Don't really need to smash anything. So cool. Right, so that's, so tomorrow, so may as well carry on with tomorrow's live event. So that's 4 o'clock Instagram, visit Tudor Britain, and then 5 o'clock the original crew of myself, Kat, Catherine, and Sarah are on Clubhouse at 5 o'clock. I don't know if we know what we're talking about yet, but that hasn't stopped us putting on a good show so far. So don't worry, just come along anyway. And if you're not on Clubhouse yet and you want to join, it's all free and open to use. Come along and follow me at Philippa B, and you'll get, I think, notifications of rooms I'm doing. So I hope you've got your cup of tea. I know some of you do a herbal tea because it's morning, maybe a herbal tea because it's evening, and anything in between. Thanks, Janice. She's given me a thumbs up. Anyone watching on YouTube, if you want to give me a thumbs up too, that would be fabulous. Catherine says it's a surprise room tomorrow. Indeed. And sometimes they are the best. Maybe we could talk about Charles I tomorrow. Oh no, it's Tudor. It's the Tudor history room, isn't it, tomorrow? Charles is a little bit too far out of that remit, but yeah, that might be a good one for History and Culture Club. PG tips, Lisa. Perfect. I think mine's Tetley. So Catherine and myself were up at Tutbury Castle on on Tuesday. A mad journalist says, I literally did an account on Clubhouse just for your rooms. Well, we are honoured. Thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying them. Actually, I should mention on Clubhouse, they have started. Catherine's got a Kit Kat. Well done. I would eat, but it doesn't help in the talking. Hello, welcome. On Clubhouse, you can have playbacks now. So we do, if we remember, toggle our rooms to record so you can get the playback. So if you do miss the live on Clubhouse, you can get it again. Oh, fabulous. Meg is on coffee. Awesome. It is only 8 a.m. over there in Virginia. I'm also on coffee at 8 a.m. But now by 1 o'clock, I'm moving to tea, just in case, it affects your sleep, like sometimes, like they say it does. And sleep's good. Sleep's good. Not sleeping is not good. So yeah, good. I love a coffee, and it's got to be a proper coffee. Anybody else now? Anyone else a bit of a coffee ponce? A coffee, what would you call it? So if I go to someone else's house and they offer me a coffee, I do have to ask if it's instant, and I do have to decline if it is. Does that make me really snobby? But I can't do it. I don't like it. Janice says, yay, to replay on Clubhouse. Indeed. So yeah, no excuses now. Clubhouse is there. Yeah, I'm a coffee ponce, Catherine. Lunch for a mad journalist over there in Greece. I think he's still there, trying to get out. Yeah. So, yeah, Colleen agrees with me. Good. I know you would. So what are we going to talk about? Tutbury. Okay, I've actually forgotten to bring with me to my desk the book about Tutbury. So everything I tell you from now on is off the top of my head. It may go well, it may not. Jenna, my husband makes cold brew coffee. Why is that even a thing? Never instant, indeed. Meg, I only like non-American instant, really, but I love strong coffee. Mel, love coffee. My favourite way to make it is to grind the beans first. I actually have a machine. It does it all. It's fabulous. Tastes best fresh. Yeah. So it's gone from beans. Oh, mad journalist. Brexit has effed it all up. No, getting proper coffee. Oh no, I'm leaving. We're not just talking specifically coffee. Okay, I get you. Bummer. Well, even if we have to come over and get you ourselves, we'll have to come and get you. Tutbury. Right. Off the top of my head. Now, Tutbury Castle, I have spoken on this programme about Tutbury quite a lot because it is the place where you can find the incredible Leslie Smith. She is the curator there, and she has been since 2000. She took over the lease. Sorry, Jenna, still on coffee. Don't understand the appeal of iced coffee here in New England. No, in Italy, yes. I have had iced coffee in Rome and Florence when it was when it was boiling hot. That actually worked. There you go, mad journalist. Catherine's offering to marry you, and then you can come over. Perfect. Solution found. Colleen, excellent. Everyone's got their machines on the go. Fantastic. So yes, Tutbury Castle, and I've spoken to you about Leslie. I've spoken about the castle before, and also I don't want to forget to mention, because it's been a while since I have. Leslie Smith has written a historical fiction book called The Wolf Moon. Now, if you go to my Amazon shop, which is amazon.co.uk/shop/British history, you'll find a lot of my book recommendations that I've spoken about, and I keep adding as I think, oh, I haven't added that one yet. And I have added Leslie's book. Now, Leslie is a medical historian specialising in the Tudor period, and she has written this fiction book. Now, if you're like me, you struggle to find historical fiction that doesn't make your teeth itch because of I don't even mind the odd inaccuracy. You know, I'm not there with my red pen, but when it's sort of, some of them, when they're written and it's like there's just a blatant disregard for any kind of accuracy, it just gets on my nerves. So anyway, I have begun a ideas list section on my shop on Amazon, which has historical fiction in it. Anyway, Leslie's book is in there. It's called Wolf Moon. I am on the back because I reviewed it, so I have read it. I read it before it was published, and it is really interesting and, well, really good story for a start, but everything in there that refers to medicine and medical practices. I don't want to spoil the story for you, but basically a lady gets poisoned potentially, and so it covers what the doctor does and the herbs and everything that's involved in it. And you know that's all accurate because it's Leslie who's done it. So that's really, really good. So you can go to my Amazon shop and get that and get the link to that book. Hi, Sarah. Just seen Sarah's joined us. Sarah, Tudor Travel Guide. I've mentioned we will be going live tomorrow. Struggling with her back at the moment. I do hope it feels a little bit better today. Backs are annoying when they go. And it's Sarah who knows all about Cromwell's houses, and we have to, we don't have to, but I would encourage you to come and listen to her talk about them. Meg, can I mention the Amazon shop again? Yes, absolutely. If you go to amazon.co.uk /shop/British history, and you should find me there, or you can go to my bio on Instagram and there is a link that will take you directly there as well. And I do get a commission on the books, but it's a great way for you to support me. The books don't cost you any more and I get a bit of commission. So win-win situation. Comreza Amma, the more I learn, the more Philippa Gregory books irk me. I know, I'm glad I read them a long time ago, but I do love them. Maybe I need to stop fact checking until I finish them. Yeah, I know what you mean. Hi, Sarah, still lying flat. Oh gosh, I do hope it eases up soon. Imagine this, it wouldn't even be that bad if people did not take most of the mainstream historical fiction as word and use it as gospel. Indeed, I think that's probably what irks the rest of us the most about it. So I've mentioned that while I'm thinking about it, that if you're looking for a historical fiction book, check out Leslie Smith's Wolf Moon, and you can find a link to it directly from my Instagram bio. But yeah, so the castle, I mean, actually where the castle is sited, it's way above the River Dove. It's near a place called Burton-on-Trent. I think it falls into Staffordshire, but it's the Staffordshire-Derbyshire border if it does. And there's evidence that there were people there 10,000 years ago. The Romans seem to have had a settlement up there. So it's a good strategic position. If you stand on the in the outer bailey of Tutbury, and you can see out across the countryside, so you can get this feel for the sighting being so it's sort of almost a typical sighting of a castle, in that it's a great defensive position, great visibility, and a water source, and the river obviously creates a natural barrier. And so we've got that with Tutbury. Excuse me, I'll just take a drink. And actually Tutbury, until really Henry VII, it was well used, and John of Gaunt lived there for like 3 years. Came under the Duke of Lancaster by his father, and still is indeed under the Duke of Lancaster. Duchy of Lancaster? Duchy. Oh, goodness. Meg says, I've started having to read only historical fiction of what I wouldn't usually read non-fiction wise. Otherwise, it drives me bonkers. I've been reading Outlander as it's set after what I usually read. Yeah, that's another way to go, isn't it? read about a period you don't know so much about, and then just treat it the same as you hope people do about the periods we do know about, and go and look it up. John, good morning over there in New Jersey. I hope you are well. So Tutbury, so like I say, so there's been a settlement there for a long time. And so the castle sort of strategic location. It's in the middle of England, so it's a Mary Queen of Scots there was held there, on 4 different occasions, including a whole year at one point. And part of the reason for that is that it's a long way from anywhere. It's a long way from the sea. It's a long way from Scotland. It's a long way from London. It's about as good as you can get in terms of a location for keeping Mary. But also then you can see that it's also a strategic point for the Midlands. Because what I thought about when I was reading about the history of Tutbury Castle actually is it almost demonstrates a switch from monarchs who were interested in the north of the country as well as the south to really Henry VII, although he takes more of an interest in the north, and then Henry VIII, and then it sort of drops off. And you can see that with the lack of use and maintenance and interest in Tutbury with its location. It finally came a cropper in the English Civil Wars, like many of our castles, and the walls were slighted because they held out, not for very long actually, but they held out for the royalist cause. Charles I was actually there. Prince Rupert was there at some points. Obviously, we'll come back to talk about Charles I in a short while, because there's a few bits out of the trial documents that I thought you might be interested to hear. But before that, it sustained damage in the Walls of the Roses, and then decline. Decline is always the bit that really, declining use is the bit that gets most of the castles, because if there's nobody who wants to live there and keep it up, then it's going to fall into disrepair. A lot of money needing to be spent on it. So, but if you go to Tutbury, and you really should, and I'll tell you another big reason why you should in a moment. You're walking in the footsteps of John of Gaunt, Blanche of Lancaster, Mary Queen of Scots, of course. I think Henry VII visited. I think Henry VIII visited. Elizabeth didn't, although obviously she knew about it because it was chosen for Mary Queen of Scots. And as I say, Charles I and many other. Richard III actually had a lot of money spent on it, on the gardens, in fact. But I'm not sure if he ever actually went. Just checking a text from my son to make sure there wasn't anything urgent. Oh, multitasking. So Tutbury Castle now is, like I say, Leslie Smith looks after the lease, and she is fantastic. Her husband is also an amazing historian. His name is Gareth Williams, and he's written lots of historical books. He's actually the curator of coins at the British Museum, and I'm going to be interviewing him very soon on the history of money, because I'm interested in getting into the history of money and how that came about. Because where's it going, people? Where's it going? So the other big reason, and I may as well tell you here, Catherine's probably going, oh, are you telling them? we went up because we are looking at putting on a Tudor fair, a Tudor festival, a big Tudor event, basically. It's going to be the Tudor festival, and it's going to be at the end of June. So if you're in the UK, you definitely want to be coming. And if you're not in the UK, maybe you want to come over and go as well. Make sure you are signed up to my newsletter, because that is probably the best way to get to get the information to your email direct, without any without having to do much work on your part. It will just fall into your inbox. So if you want to sign up to my newsletter so that you get that information, then on Instagram, on my bio, there's a direct link, or you can visit my website, which is britishhistorytours.com, and one of those annoying pop-ups come up So you can sign up there. Sorry about that. I put it on. Don't think I've ever worked out how to take it off, but then it does make it very easy to find how to get it. So I can't come to the UK. Well, maybe one day. I don't. If this goes well, it will not be the only one. I can guarantee. So it will all be fun. But yes, there you go. Because I forgot the book about Tutbury. That was all off the top of my head. Are you up in Scotland? Reza Amma. I don't know how to do it. Colleen, it will be one day, and it will be at Tutbury. So that is where it will be. It's a fantastic venue as well. So you do have it. It is mainly a ruin. If you look at photographs, you'll be like, it's just ruins. It's not all just ruins. So there is part of the private apartments and the Great Hall is still there. Emma. Okay. Her name is in Spanish. Okay, cool. Thank you, Emma. So you can actually go into the room where Mary would have been, and we're going to do lots and lots of really, really fun stuff. So sign up to my newsletter if you haven't already, and you will get information as soon as we can share it about that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. So I'm really looking forward to this year because we're getting back up and going. I'm sorry if you're in a country that isn't managing to get up and going yet, but it will come soon. It definitely will. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've got the 3 tours which are fully booked and on in May, July and September, and looks like travel restrictions on people coming to this country are going to be severely reduced, and so it's going to be much easier to do that. In fact, we already know a few people who've been over recently from America actually this month, so that's been really lovely to see that people are traveling again. And yes, so starting to put on day events as well. There will be talks coming up also, so again, just catch up with me and I'll let you know what's going on. The newsletter is also a great way of doing it. Right, I'm going to so we've still got to talk about Charles I's trial. I still want to talk to you about the Act Against Multipliers, this Act of Parliament, which basically tried to stop people creating base metals. Gold, obviously, is the one they were worried about. And we need to do the question of the week. So this is just for fun. And last week's question was, and they're all based purposely on my videos, on some of my videos that are on YouTube. And last week's was surrounding Elizabeth I's coronation. And the question was, why did Elizabeth I stop her coronation procession at Fenchurch? And so you could you could watch my video and find out the answer. And the answer was simply to listen to a young boy reading a poem. Now, of course, this was reported as a spontaneous act by the new Queen. Probably was actually planned that way, but still, it went down really well with the crowds and her people. Imagine, so have I missed I don't know if I've missed a comment from you. You've got restrictions. Yeah, the restrictions will be, they're not actually too restrictive at the moment. There's no quarantine required and a lateral flow within the first 2 days of being here at the moment. And apparently we are getting another announcement soon. So it can only go the right way, in my opinion. So Lisa, absolutely. To hear a lad read a poem, awesome. Brilliant. Yes. Now, so this week's question. Okay, this week's question is also based on a video. The video is called Simon de Montfort and the First English Parliament. So I talk about Simon de Montfort, and how he held the first English Parliament. Strange that. The clue was in the title. And the question is, and I'll give you the answer next week, so you can go off and watch the video. These are all on my YouTube, by the way. The question is, what did Queen Eleanor send to Maud de Montfort to thank her for her support? What did Queen Eleanor send to Maud de Montfort to thank her for her support? Oh, imagine this. Well, do you know what? What can we do? Fine, come here then. Come here. Right, so that is the question for this week. I'm going to put the shop on on the bottom of YouTube so you can see. John says Elizabeth was great at PR. She certainly was. She had such an eye for what the visual would look like, how people would interpret things. She really was incredible at it. Incredible. So yeah, I've actually got a video about the coronation as well. So let me just give you a quick reminder about the competition to win Tracy Borman's book, The Private Lives of the Tudors. She has signed it. Hi, Laura, welcome. So Tracy has signed the book. So the competition to win that book is open till the 28th of February. And all you have to do is watch the interview I did with Tracy about her new book, Crown and Sceptre. Specifically, we're talking about female power and rule, and answer the question that's underneath. Answer the question posed in the comments below that video. Make sure you subscribed to the YouTube channel and that you've liked the video. So cool. I'm just letting everyone talk about the stuffed badger. I can't remember about the stuffed badger. Oh God. I'm dry today. Other interviews as well that I've got coming up that you might be interested in, because you may have watched the Tracy one already, and thank you if you already have. Heather Darcy, my interview with Heather Darcy about Anne, Duchess of Cleves, Anne of Cleves, all her various names. You can get that. That's going to be available at the end of next month. Patrons get that earlier, of course. Catherine, I've forgotten the question now. Yeah, me too. Things have moved on. So yeah, the patrons, as always, will get the videos early. Now, also, I'm aware that at the moment I've only put out what patrons are getting until the end of January. We've got the quarterly event for the top tiers next week, which is all about Catherine of Aragon. So if you are a member of my Patreon, one, thank you, and two, then if you're in the upper tiers, you will be able to see that next week. Oh, John says Tracy's new book doesn't come out in the US until the 22nd of Feb. Oh, can you not get on Audible either then? And Heather's book on Arno is fantastic. So yes, please look out. I will let you know when that interview is going to go live. And I'm also going to be interviewing Gareth Russell soon. Again, if you are a patron, you will be able to submit your own questions. And I'm going to be asking Gareth about the downfalls of Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. So the questions you put to Gareth, you can choose to be on topic or maybe not, as long as they're history related. Gareth's written on a plethora of subjects, including the British monarchy, or the English monarchy, actually, Titanic, the Romanovs, and of course Catherine Howard. His biography of Catherine Howard is the biography to have. So I will be interviewing him very soon as well. So if you are a patron, look out for the post, because I'll be asking you to submit your own questions to Gareth if you wish. So that's all coming up. Okay, now I keep saying that I will talk about the trial of Charles I, because this is the anniversary today of his of the opening day of his trial. And I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but there's a few bits that I thought are quite interesting. Now, I've got this from there's a book printed in 1654 with an extremely long title, but it's basically the full proceedings of the High Court Justice against King Charles in Westminster on the 20th January 1648. And the first bit is quite interesting for a couple of. So it starts off by explaining the courtroom before the king is brought in, and there's this Supreme Tribune of Justice sitting, and Sergeant Bradshaw is president. You'll notice they're all ranks of the army on the parliamentarian side, with about 70 other people elected to be judges being present. And then when the king is brought in to the court, his head is covered, which I hadn't picked up on anywhere before. So there's no more information on that in here than that. But that seems to me that he is brought in, what, with a hood over his head or something like that. Oh, excellent, Meg. Meg says Amazon.co.uk will ship to the US generally. I'm hoping there's some kind of link that then that the .co.uk becomes a .com or something. That's what I was hoping, because I don't have the option to choose, which is a bit of a pain. Sorry, Meg was just asking about the Amazon shop. So the trial of Charles I. So he's brought into the courtroom, which actually is Westminster Hall, which still stands within the House of Parliament, Palace of Westminster, and he's brought in. So there's already in the room 70 people. He's brought in with his head covered, and like I say, I'm not completely sure what that means. Whether that means he comes in with a bag over his head, which is a bit concerning. And then he is brought in by another 30 officers. So the intention here is very clear. It's to intimidate the king. He is on his own, and there is at least 100 people in the courtroom that are there to make him feel extremely uncomfortable and really to say, right, your time is up. We are in charge. You're going to capitulate, etc., etc. And the Solicitor General, a man called Cook, announces, I do charge Charles the Steward here present as guilty of treason and other great defaults. And the charge is long. The charge is long. But it basically goes on to say that as King of England, he was trusted with limited power, so very specific, limited power to govern according to the laws of the land and not otherwise. But nevertheless, out of wicked design, he upheld in himself an unlimited and tyrannical power. It then goes on to list all of the battles that had happened during the first part of the English Civil Wars and the number of men who died in those battles, and blame them, basically put Charles as responsible for the deaths of all of those men. So it does go on quite a bit. It's quite large. So you'll excuse me if I don't read it all. It calls him a tyrant, traitor, murderer, an implacable enemy to the Commonwealth of England. Now, what was Charles's response? Well, he doesn't appear to have been that intimidated by the 100+ people baying for his blood. He immediately, on his response, questions the authority of the court at all. So they basically ask him for his response. What do you answer to your charge? And he says, I would be satisfied by what power I am called hither. It's not long since I was in the Isle of Wight. And he goes on to explain how he was being held on the Isle of Wight, but he was brought back to London for this trial without being told what was going to happen, without even knowing where he was being held on the way, en route. He clearly doesn't appear to have even known where he's being kept. See you later, Emma. Silsol, welcome from Argentina. We're talking about the trial of Charles I, because it's the opening day of that, the anniversary of the opening day of the trial, well, opening and closing, I think, of the trial of Charles I in 1648. And what they effectively do is they charge him with treason. They tell him he is a traitor. He's a tyrant, and he personally is responsible for every death which has happened during the Civil War battles up to that point. Michael says, I knew a chap called Reg, whose ancestor was the sergeant of arms who signed Charles I's death warrant. He was always nervous around members of the sealed knot. Yeah, and of course, Charles II, his son, when he was restored, came after all of the signatories of the death warrant of his father, Charles I. A mad journalist, could he question their authority in reality? And also, could they really charge him legally? Like, did they have that kind of power? Well, Charles doesn't seem to think so. Oh, my vitamin C drink as well. We all must do our own thing to keep ourselves healthy. So he basically says, you're not entitled to question me on this. I mean, it takes quite a long time to do it. I actually didn't even print off all of what he said. But yeah, so he complains about his treatment, the fact that he's been brought from the Isle of Wight. And if you think about it, so they could have kept him on the Isle of Wight. They could have kept him prisoner. They could have deposed him. But that wasn't going to be enough. They wanted to have him executed. And that was an unprecedented and fairly extreme step. We've got to remember here, it's a human being and he's going to have his head cut off. So he doesn't appear to be at all rocked by or intimidated by the number of people there. Meg says, telling them they don't have the authority to question him makes him sound like a tyrant. Indeed, maybe not the questioning. It was the fact they were charging him with it. Michael says, didn't they charge him for crimes against the people? In other words, he was a traitor. Yeah, exactly. That's how they framed it. That he was responsible for the death of the people who died in battle. And it literally, they listed them and exactly the number of people who had died at each battle. So they went for it. But he does, what does he say here? To bring this public treaty to an end by the public faith in the world, either show me your authority established by the scriptures. Remember, Charles fully believed that in the divine right of kings, that he was king by virtue of God himself, and therefore he was in the right. Therefore, no, you couldn't question him. No, you couldn't call him the tyrant and the traitor. John, poor Charles believed in his own, there you go, in his own PR, the divine right of kings. He didn't read tea leaves very well. No, indeed. Meg says, although I question whether they had the authority to try him and definitely to execute him, I guess it doesn't matter if they did or not, as they had him in custody. They had control of the king's person. Indeed they did. But like I say, they could have kept him in prison. They could have deposed him. They could have kept him on the Isle of Wight, but they chose to bring him back to London. I think there was an air of legitimacy that had to be, or perhaps they perceived had to be seen. And if you abolished the monarchy, then it couldn't return. Of course, it did. It did, because it wasn't wholly different to the woman and man on the street who was in charge. Surprise, surprise, huh? But yeah, so that's really interesting. And if you want to look it up yourself, I got this off Early English Books Online. You can go online and find all sorts of old books, and it's called The Full Proceedings of the High Court of Justice against King Charles, in a lot more words, because there's a lot of, but I think that's enough to find the book. Michael, they could have cited King Saul in the Bible, who God created and destroyed. Yeah. Well, there's lots of, I think you can find whatever you need to justify a position. So before I go to our last bit, which was this act of multipliers, which I find amusing and interesting in equal measure, because it is an act of parliament. So a law brought in to basically prevent anyone undermining the people in power. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So I've got another few videos I'm not going to talk about today, but that you might be interested in because the anniversary is around now. These are the ones I put these out last year. So my hair looks very different. Watch them just for that. See the alteration. Queen Victoria died on the 22nd. So that's interesting. She died on the Osborne House on the Isle of Wight. And her death was kept secret for I can't remember how long. But what was interesting is no one alive, I don't think, had been around when she came to the throne, because she was 18 just when she came to the throne. And so nobody really knew what to do. Anyway, so I've done a video about that. You can check that one out. On the 25th of January, so before I see you here again, we've got the anniversary of Henry VIII marrying Anne Boleyn at Whitehall. So again, I've got a video about that. I've also got a virtual tour of Whitehall, which I basically walk around the Whitehall area to show you where places were, including where the gate had been, where Henry and Anne married. Oh, Michael, I've never had a bad hair day. Thank you very much. It does it very different, I think, anyway. So, and then also, obviously, there's the one about Elizabeth I's coronation, which you can check out. And obviously, you're going to run and check out Simon de Montfort and the first English Parliament, because you do want to know what Queen Eleanor sent to Maud de Montfort as a thank you. I promise you, you want to know. But maybe another earphones requirement. I'll just give you the warning. So it's a fun story. It's just not quite maybe what you expect. Maybe you do. I don't know. So before I move on to the act of multipliers, just to let you know that the History After Dark room from last night is available on history.after.dark, and last week's is as well. Last week we were calling BS on myths from history and conspiracy theories that have been shown to be false, all sorts of things. Now, one of them was the death of Edward II at Berkeley. Now, if you have a look on my Instagram after this, you'll see I've put a picture on of the room in which he was supposed to have been murdered. This is the man who's the story that likes to be retold is that he was killed by red hot poker up there. And there's those kind of stories that carry on, but it's not true. It's not true. Hello, Noelle Renee. Is it Renee? Just found you. I'm so interested. Where do I start with your content? Well, there's I've been about for a little while now. It's, by the way, if you are someone who's returning, thank you so much. Your support is gratefully received, absolutely. And if you are new here, welcome. There's lots of new people subscribing to my channels every day, and I'm really grateful. I hope you love it here. We've got a nice little thing going, people who love history. And it's not just me. I'm here doing my stuff, but I work with Sarah Morris, the Tudor Travel Guide, Kat Marchant from Reading the Past, and Catherine Brooks, who's not just the Tudor Tracker, and Deb Boyle from Tudor Times, bringing you loads of different history live streams each week, and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, where to start? If you look on my YouTube channel, tell you what you could do. You could just sign up to my newsletter, because each week in my newsletter I send out links to videos that are around anniversaries, historical anniversaries, so you can get going on those. But yeah, my YouTube channel probably and my Instagram feed, they're the ones that I keep the most full, but there's quite a bit. Yeah, there's quite a bit. Yeah. Anyway, go through and have a look how my hair's changed. I'm not interesting, so sorry. Right. What was I saying? So if you have a look on my Instagram, you can see Edward II, the room in which he was murdered. Oh yes, you can also see some rather pretty pictures that I took of Tutbury in the sunset when I was there on Tuesday. So have a look at those as well. Yeah, mad journalist, she's been going through from the start. I love the dedication. I love it. You'll probably see as well my transition for like how I hope I've got better at editing. And then I think you'll probably see where I introduced a light, an actual light, as opposed to just trying to have the sun shining in my face, and microphones and things like that. So yeah, if you but sign up to my newsletter and you'll get the links to all sorts of stuff. But yeah, if you have a look through my Instagram, you can see some pictures of Tutbury that I took the other day. You can see the picture of where Edward II was murdered. And I've also put a reminder out about the competition to win the signed copy of Tracy Borman's book, The Private Lives of the Tudors. So you can have a look at all that. Yeah, so History After Dark, come along on Instagram and follow the channel, but you can also then catch up. The podcast is on the way, I promise. I keep promising, but I'm doing all the editing and everything, which is fine. I'm just taking more than I thought time-wise to do it, but that will be soon available. So that's going to include I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6 maybe episodes from last year. So if you've only just found History After Dark, or you want to relive some of our past experiences on History After Dark, you will be able to do that on the podcast. There's going to be an explicit warning on it because it's a no holds barred look at some of our history. Yeah, we go down some wormholes, do we not? It's fun though, very fun. I can't remember where else I was going with that. So yeah, just make sure you have a look at History After Dark. Tomorrow, join me for Visit Tudor Britain. Myself, Sarah and Deb Boyle, who's Tudor Times, will be together on Tudor Times profile on Instagram doing a live. Sarah is going to be talking to us about Cromwell's houses. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then we'll be all of us on Clubhouse at 5 o'clock to talk about something not yet decided upon. Okay, the last bit I promised you, this Act Against Multipliers, which was passed in Parliament in January 1404. Now it just makes me giggle, really. So it was a law that came in under Henry IV, and what it specifically forbid was the practice of trying to turn base metals. I said base metal, trying to create base metals before. You don't need to try and create base metals. That's the point. Trying to turn base metals into precious metals, i.e. your silver and gold. Now we know that that's impossible, but obviously then they didn't. That's why there was a law against it. And the idea that somebody could crack the code, crack the formulation, the methodology to create gold or silver from base metals, that was a true concern. Now, why would it be such a concern? Obviously, the people in power, the people who are rich, don't want somebody else getting rich, but it would also undermine the entire country's economy if someone could just create money. I'll let that one linger for a little while. If you could just create money, could undermine economies. Anyway, so it was made an actual crime under the law of the land. Now, that's the practice that you would have heard referred to as alchemy, which now comes under the term, we recognise it more as chemistry. But that act wasn't repealed till, was it 1689? So yes, my journalist, alchemy was basically illegal, and it was illegal till 1689. But by this point, we've got a much a growing scientific community. You know, the interest in science is growing, and people want to be able to experiment. Now, if it's against the law to experiment because you might come up with gold or you might come up with silver, that is curtailing the freedoms of the scientists to just have a go at stuff, have a go at stuff, try stuff, work out what works, what doesn't. I don't know, whatever they do in chemistry labs in white coats, and I don't think they had white coats then. So the reason it was repealed was there was a big lobbying effort from the scientific community. One of the most notable people involved in that was Robert Boyle, who you might have heard about if you paid attention at school. Did you pay attention at school? Yeah, Michael, I agree. Anyway, so Robert Boyle is part of this lobbying movement to lobby the government to repeal this act against multipliers, which had been passed way back in the early 15th century. So Meg, apparently it impeded scientific, it didn't stop them. Right, so it might have meant that it was illegal, but so this is the last bit of this that I find quite funny. So Robert Boyle, he only died 2 years after the act was repealed, but by that time, or by the time of his death, he'd published 40 books on chemistry. So the majority of his work must basically have taken place when it was technically against the law. But I mean, that's just it had become a defunct law, and that was the point, getting it back off the statute. There you go. There's a little tidbit for the end. We have been going for nearly an hour. It is 4 minutes to 2. John says he did pay attention, but many of those grey cells are now lost. Yeah, anyone else do that? He's like, I'm sure I knew this. I'm sure I knew this at school. I was listening. No, I haven't got a clue. Maths. I'm like that with maths. I actually love science. I've got A levels in science, bizarrely. Never did anything with them, obviously. So, just a reminder, you can see me again here for Thursday History Chat live at 1 o'clock London time next week. But in the meantime, I'm not leaving you be. I'm back on Instagram tomorrow at 4 o'clock, Clubhouse at 5 o'clock, and back also on Monday on Clubhouse at 5 o'clock. Michael, time flies when you're having fun. Indeed. Well, I'm having fun. I hope you're having fun. And I will either see you tomorrow on those, or maybe next week if you're around and you can come back. Now remember to if you'd like, go and look at Simon de Montfort and the First English Parliament, so that you can answer the question next week. You can give me the answer to this question next week, and the question is, what did Queen Eleanor send to Maud de Montfort as a thank you for her support? Please, I think it's a funny in a macabre way. So thank you ever so much, everyone. Take care. Have a great week. I hopefully will see you before this time next week, but if not, have a great time. Have a great one. And I will see you all really soon.